This week in the field, what difference can a few minutes make? It turns out, a lot. Hi everyone, I'm Scott Davenport. Welcome to In the Field. Thanks for joining me today. Before I dive into today's episode, I want to get your photo questions. Anything about photography. It could be field related, could be post-processing related. What's on your mind? I'd like to hear from you. And I really can't stress enough how good it is getting questions coming in. Hopefully my responses are giving you help with your photography. I can promise you your questions are helping me with my photography. It makes me think about things and question approaches or ideas that I've either ingrained or learned and maybe I need to unlearn with photography. But the whole point is we get to improve our craft together. So please send me your questions. You can contact me right through my website. So today's topic is what difference does a few minutes make? I went out for this shoot out into the desert. Went the opposite direction of the ocean for a change for a sunrise shoot, and went to a couple of locations just a few minutes apart. One was near a lake, and one was just a nice open pasture field kind of feel to it. And in both locations, I realized what the difference of a few minutes can make to the photo. Let me show you some of the footage from both of these spots, and I'll come back and show you some of the differences in just, a handful of minutes between the scenes. I'm visiting Cuyamaca Lake for the first time in a long time. It's about a half hour before sunrise. It's still pretty dark. The lower right of the frame, which you can probably not see, there's a small pier, and I'm thinking about using that as my main foreground subject. The lake kind of ends here, then off to the southeast rather, we've got the sun coming up over the hills and some nice cloud cover. So that should pick up a lot of nice color, reflect nicely in the water. It's a matter of just walking down along there, finding a good vantage for a foreground subject, and doing my best not to wake up the folks that are camping here. Get a little better look at the pier here now, and you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. Although I have to say, as I'm standing here, I'm scanning the scene and looking again to the opposite side of the lake, where there's this wonderful cloud cover, this really nice big tree here, and that's just a more complete scene. So I'm thinking, back to this pier here, go back to the opposite side and shoot down the other way, maybe with a slightly longer lens to reach in so that I don't have too much dead space in the foreground. The pier can still be a foreground element, but depending how I frame up. And then, of course, I've got the more classic shot of getting up on the pier and having that reach out to the reflected water. That may be equally nice as well. So I'm going to get the camera out, try a few shots, and decide what to do when the sun comes up over that ridge. So one of the test shots just took, and you can see it right here. The problem is that there's not separation between the pier, my foreground subject, and the background. So I need to get the camera up higher so I can get that separation. It'll be a stronger shot. I've headed around to the other side of the lake, and it's gorgeous. Yeah, I like that this is being front lit as the sun's coming up behind me. Although for the photo itself, I'm deciding right now whether or not to shoot vertically or horizontally. Right now I'm mounted in a portrait position, biasing the composition a little bit toward the sky. Aperture priority, just letting the camera meter the scene, and it's already gone from 1.5 seconds to 1 second in the few minutes that I've been standing here. And focus point is right at the end of that pier, and f11 is going to be fine for this scene, I think, because everything is roughly in the center here on the same focal plane, and then after that I don't mind a little bit of drop off toward the very distance, and in my framing right now I don't have a lot of distance in the background. So we're going to start with this, but now that I'm looking at the scene in the video, it looks pretty great in a landscape orientation as well. A couple of other compositional notes. I walked up and down like this path here trying to find a spot to set up, and why I chose this spot is as I'm framing up, in the distance there's a couple of things. There's some power lines along the edge there, like to the left of the trees in the center. And there's a blue tent that's set up just to the left of the pier. Hard to see in the video. I will attempt to zoom in on it, kind of up there. And I'm not sure exactly how I feel about that yet. I may or may not want to remove it. But the reason I chose this particular framing is so I have separation. You can see that those, the blue sticks, those would be easy, but that tent, I wanted it separated from the pier. The power lines, that's just a reality and shouldn't be too bad to remove those. I'd exhausted the compositional possibilities of the lake. So just drove up the road, pulled over to the side because I saw this, and it's great. The light's just rising up. I'm framed up already. F16, mainly because that's what I had on the camera before. And I did throw the 24 to 70 back onto the camera so I can reach in a little bit. And yeah, I'm just taking a few shots right now as the light's hitting the backside of those hills. And then as it turns and hits the front, it'll become a little more golden color like it is in the background. This will be a beautiful scene and a great ending to a very, very wonderful morning. So the lake was nice, and the sunrise was pretty good. There was at least some color in the clouds. And as I was watching the changes in the color, the richness of the color, within just a couple of minutes, the color started to become washed out. The sun hadn't even cleared the hills that were behind me from where I was shooting. And here's a couple of photos, just moments apart, really, within a couple of minutes each other. And this first one, it's a nicer feel. I like it because the blues and the purples are a little bit richer. And then the next one, it's just different. You can already see, or it's a little warmer, but the deeper blues are getting washed out and becoming more sky blue. The traditional sky blue. And I see if I think I have this other photo here. If I can dig it out of my library, I'll be throwing it up on the screen. Where as the sun finally started to rise up, the wind started to kick up as well, and what was a very calm, pristine lake started to get very ripply. Again, a different feel, and all of that happened within the span of 5 minutes. The same thing happened on this that I call the prairie shot. Just the rolling hills of this golden brown grasses, where different locations, so the sun had a different hill to clear to shine on it. And as the sun's coming up, you can just watch the changes in the landscape. So here's one where the sun was just starting to clear, and the backside of the hills were lit up, and very nicely. But the foreground was all shadowy. And moments later, you started to get this much more interesting play of light and shadow as the rest of that field started to get lit up. And that one you could just literally watch unfold. You could just see the sun slowly moving across the scene. And within, I would say, 90 seconds, it had gone from complete shadowed to interestingly peppered with light and shadow to more or less all lit and less interesting photographically. So the tip of the week is that minutes matter, and this shoot really hammered home for me the notion of why do landscape photographers get so passionate about golden hour, or really what's more like golden minutes, unless you're shooting above the Arctic Circle in summer or something like that. Because the scene can change so rapidly, and you just do have moments where the light is just right, and you get that rich color you're looking for, or that play of light and shadow. So when you're out and you're getting your shots ready, and you've dialed in whatever it is that you want to focus on, well, focus on it, and block out the rest of what's going on around you. Modulo being safe. Don't be like in the middle of a road or something like that. Stay safe. But yeah, really, those moments where you've got just where the sun's rising or the sun's falling and the light is changing rapidly, stay on your game and get the shots that you want. That's going to do it for this week in the field. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, let me know somehow. Social shares are always appreciated. Comments on the video are great. Any type of feedback that lets me know you're getting value out of this really, really helps encourage me to come back for another set of videos. And until next time, my name's Scott Davenport, and happy shooting. Oh, that was a terrible segue. Oh my God, that's horrible. I'm embarrassed. I want to say that again. I'll turn to Okay, let's try this one more time.